Good morning, guys. Today is Tuesday, March 31st. I am currently I'm currently 45 minutes late for work. Yeah, so still going to work. So I wanted to update from last week where I had stated that I think I last updated the day before the official date was that if we didn't shut down, it was going to be too late. And the day came and the governor shut us down, shut the state into lockdown. But it turns out that my company is a essential business. So I don't know that I agree. I don't know that I agree that my position is essential business. I gotta see that. But it is what it is. And honestly, I know Minnesota has a lot of headquarters of companies, of a lot of companies, like 3M and General Mills and Target, and there's a bunch. So I heard a statistic that 70% of Minnesota businesses are essential, which I kind of believe, because I swear there was more traffic yesterday than there was last week, and the shutdown started I think Friday night at midnight. So yeah, interesting. It is what it is. I'm kind of torn between being grateful that I am still going to be getting a paycheck, and my husband is also an essential business, so he's still getting a paycheck. So I'm torn between that, being grateful and knowing that I'm extremely lucky, and feeling guilty because I desperately wanted 2 weeks at home. For either of us or both of us. I don't know that I would have been I don't know that us at home together 2 weeks would have been a great idea. Probably not, to be honest. We do fine on the weekends, but beyond that, we tend to butt heads. So that probably wouldn't have been a good thing. But we're both exhausted all the time. We both work overtime week after week after week. And I know for me that I desperately wanted 2 weeks to be at home and gather my strength back up and regenerate a little bit. And was hoping, and this might not have even been the case, but I was hoping that I would not feel so run down, with 2 weeks at home. And that was the idea. I'm sure I wouldn't have. 2 weeks at home and I can't go anywhere because the governor says so. I have a reason to not leave. That's amazing. That would have been awesome. But it wasn't my luck. So, luck. See, again, very, very torn. Yeah, so off to work I go. Again, silver lining, the traffic is absolutely wonderful. There's so much less traffic than normal, and I'm not dealing with jerks, riding my tail. There's a little bit more apprehension about not speeding because the police now have less cars to watch. So I've been being a little cautious on that side. But yeah, I've been kind of mulling over the whole coronavirus thing in my head a lot, and it's hard to wrap your brain around. There's a lot of weird thoughts that, maybe not weird, but a lot of thoughts that have gone through my head, and I've watched several videos about how to cope during this time, and it is very stressful going into work and feeling like you're constantly being exposed. As fast as this thing has spread and as dangerous as it is, to be going into a building of people that have come from all over the area, it leaves, I feel very vulnerable and very exposed and very, I try not to be like, I try not to think about, like, I don't trust anybody, you know, but I try not to think about that too much because I still have a job to do, and if I let my brain run away with that, I probably wouldn't be able to get anything done. And I am being, at the end of the day, I have to be at work, and I'm being paid to do a job, so I still need to be doing that job to the best of my current ability. And for all of us, a lot of us, upper management and all the way down to the bottom, you know, we're all having a hard time focusing, and we're all trying to concentrate on what we're supposed to be doing, but it's very, very hard, and very, very stressful. And a lot of the symptoms I have gotten have been from my raised stress level and anxiety level. Rapid heartbeat, shallow breathing, tummy issues, headaches, you know, and I know this because I've had many periods in my life where my anxiety has been up, and so, you know, I'm not fearful when I feel those symptoms. I'm not as fearful that I have it. It does go through my mind though, and I watch carefully if the symptoms dissipate and come back and dissipate and come back, because that tells me it's my anxiety. And I have low appetite. You know, a lot of people stress eat. I'm the opposite. I don't get hungry even less or even more. I don't know how that would work, but when I'm highly stressed, I don't get hungry. So I have to really watch and make sure that I'm eating enough so that my blood sugars don't drop, and staying healthy, you know. So if I'm not eating, my body has no nutrients to go on, and that is going to weaken my immune system. So knowing that I have to pay attention and eat enough to keep supplying my immune system, and fighting that I'm not hungry. So eating little small amounts of things is basically what I'm doing, just to maintain. But overall, it's pretty crazy. I know this is not the first pandemic, and it probably won't be the last pandemic. Prior to this, actually, and I'm of average intelligence, let's say that. So I had actually never put two and two together of what a pandemic was. I'd never had, I'm sure I learned it at school at some point, but that was a long time ago now. And since school, I have probably come across the word, but it didn't click in my head that meant like a global thing, you know. So it's up and in your face now. Like it's a thing. It's not just an epidemic, it's a pandemic, which is pretty hard to wrap the brain around. Like, I believe in spiritual things, and you know, a lot of the spiritual people have been saying for years that we're all one. It's going to take all of us to save the planet. It's going to take all of us to bring love to the planet and light to the planet, and that means globally, you know. And maybe even that concept hadn't really fully seated in my head until now. And this is the first time in my lifetime, and maybe the only time in my lifetime, where, and I've said this many times, as far as Earth goes as a whole, we are literally all in the same boat together at this point. The whole world is in the same boat right now. We are all one. We are all one in fear. We are all one in trying to fight this disease, this virus, trying to stay strong and trying to do the right thing to get through this and try to survive this. because the death toll numbers are fairly high. Well, I don't know about fairly high. I mean, they are. In certain areas, they're just ridiculous. Like, look up the numbers for New York. New York's numbers are insane. And to me, that's a slight reminder that we are not meant to live tens of thousands of people in small square foot, or small square acreage, or mileage, or whatever you want to call it. Because when something does go through, it goes through like a wildfire. The more spread out people are, the less likely it is to go through like a wildfire. I live in a very rural area. Half my drive is through farmland. There's a house every, I don't know, a couple of acres. They're a couple acres apart, and it's a small town, and so there is a lot of people in and out of the main stores, but if you're in the heart of a city, the exposure is absolutely astronomical. And we weren't meant to live in these big cities. It's not a possibility to shut down the big cities and have everybody spread out. It's just not going to happen. There's not enough awareness, there's not enough knowledge, there's not enough, honestly, there's probably not even enough fear yet for that to happen. But ideally, that's what would take place, is the big, large cities would shut down and everybody would spread out. And those cities would only be something you drive into for work. You don't live there. And even then it would still raise exposure. But it would be better, I think. Commutes would be worse, though, because everybody would be driving into the city instead of all the people that are in the city. So there's no really good answers, obviously, but it's pretty mind-boggling to consider that we are quite literally all in the same boat together. We are all sharing the same goal at this point, which is to stay healthy and keep those around us healthy. And I think that could be really powerful if utilized in the right way. Unfortunately, again, there's so many people that are just not self-aware. They're not mature. They're not able to look at anything but their own perspective, twisted or not, and be aware of the larger, bigger picture. I hope this does wake some people up. I really do, because the world could use a little less narcissism and a little less selfishness and a little less greed, even if it's just a little. So yeah, it's a pretty crazy time to live in, as it was, and this just makes it that much crazier. I'm at like midlife-ish, and nothing like this has come before, and nothing like this may come again in my lifetime. But we're in the middle of history right now, and the numbers are going to be what they're going to be by the time it's all said and done. What's so scary about this one is that it mutates and adapts, and that makes it pretty terrifying. But I'm confident that this will pass at some point. I know it will. It's just right now everybody needs to be focusing on keeping themselves and their loved ones healthy enough to survive it and become changed when it's over. Be more aware, be more prepared. Know that something like this could happen again, and are you going to be ready? And if that means getting yourself into a job, career that is an essential business or is more on the essential end, then that might be something to look at, so that you don't get shut down and you don't have a paycheck. You aren't in a position where you're not getting a paycheck. I'm also a little bit fearful, now that I said that the medical I don't want to say community. Anyway, medical staff has always been rather low. In nursing homes, hospitals, wherever. And it's always been an area where they could use more nurses. And nursing is still a field that a lot of people go into because it's steady. They'll always need nurses. But I'm fearful that in this pandemic, that's probably one of the most dangerous jobs out there, is being in nursing or being a doctor. And I'm afraid that it's going to cause people to not want to go into that field. In a field that we already need twice as many nurses as we have, there's going to be even less people going to nursing school and becoming nurses or doctors. The lure of doctors is still the money, because unfortunately, the more you know that doctor training is seriously lacking in a lot of ways. They're treating illness. They're not treating people to not become ill. They're there for once you've already gotten sick, to try to make you better, not to tell you how to get better, but to push medications that really only cause other problems. So it's a dangerous field to be in, always. But in a pandemic, it's 10 times that, 100 times that, and I hope that it does not turn into a global crisis of lack of nurses and doctors because of the fear that should another pandemic come around, they will be on the front lines. I heard, and I don't know if this is true, because my son is friends with a trauma care nurse in New York, and I think this is where he heard it, was that in New York, Walmart and Amazon employees are getting hazard pay, but nurses and doctors are not. I hope that's not true, because that would be absolutely atrocious. That would be a huge disservice, a huge injustice, and absolutely disgusting if that's not the case. Anybody that's on the front lines should be getting hazard pay. Honestly, if you're an essential business and you have to be open because of this, you should be getting hazard pay, because you're going in daily and exposing yourself more than you would if you weren't an essential business. If you weren't an essential business, you'd be safe, tucked at home, staying away from exposure. But those of us that have essential businesses that have to work, we're exposing ourselves daily because we have to. Because we have an obligation to our business. Which we really don't. If I really wanted to, I could say I'm not comfortable coming in and exposing myself, and I likely would not lose my job at this point. And a lot of people do have that option, and we do have some people that haven't. But I believe the main idea was that you can stay home if you have a family member or yourself is sick. And I know that there are some people probably staying home just because of the fear of being exposed. And then some of our older people are also staying home. I don't know if that was under our own directive. It may have been. I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with them losing paychecks, but I don't want them exposed more than they already are. I want them home safe so that they can come back to us when this is all done. So yeah, I think that anybody having to work in an essential business should be getting hazard pay. A $1,200 stimulus check is literally less than my mortgage payment. That's not going to do anything. And there are those of us that probably won't even get that stimulus check due to outside issues. So yeah, that is my rant for the day. I don't know what else to say other than stay safe, stay healthy, stay home. If you don't have to be out, stay home. If you can, when you do have to go out, buy more than you need. Buy double or triple what you would normally buy of something so that you don't have to come out again next week. Stay home. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Be kind. Be aware. Be loving. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.